Have you ever think about this? That when you access any website, right? Google.com, for example, how does your browser magically knows the IP address of google.com? How does it remember all these addresses? From where do you get the addresses of any website? Let us say any new website is launched. How your system knows the IP address of that? So if the DNS failed for 5 minutes, for example, do you know the whole world will collapse with respect to internet? You will not able to access internet. Why? Have you ever think about this? Why does your router gives you a DNS server without asking? Why are there root servers, .com servers? What are these .edu server, .org servers? From where all this coming from? And why this naming happens like this, right? So why is DNS is the first vector for hackers? Means if hackers want to target, why they target first the DNS, right? Have you ever thought all these things? If not, in this session, we will try to understand all this. After this session, this is my guarantee to you that, or this is my promise to you that you will understand everything about DNS. Okay, so let us begin. So, what is DNS? Right, let us start with very simple question. What is DNS? So DNS is a domain name system. It's a global phone book. It's a global phone book of internet that maps domain name with IP addresses. So for example, netflix.com. People just type netflix.com, you will get the IP of it, right? 142 something something something, right? So DNS converts the name into IP and vice versa also. Now, why DNS exists? Why do we need this phone book? Correct. That is the another question. Why DNS exists? So, because humans are bad in remembering. Correct. Initially, when we were using the phones, right? We used to have the directory, phone directory, right? Why? Because we couldn't remember these many contacts of person. So we used to refer to the phone directory, figure it out the contact and dial that. So similarly, in the internet world, our system cannot remember the IPs of millions of websites present worldwide. So somebody needs to maintain this, right? So that is what is DNS. Now, what I want to tell you is don't just think that DNS is a simple like what directory we used to use. DNS is actually a process in itself. Okay, it's not a single directory where you will get all this mapping. It's a process which happens as soon as you hit any website on your system. So DNS bridge the gap between humans and IPs, machines, correct? So that is what DNS do at the end of the day. So without DNS, just think of if there is no DNS, no browsing. You cannot do browsing at all. No email, no mobile apps, no cloud. The internet becomes useless if DNS is not there. That's how important DNS is. Now let us try to understand the DNS ecosystem. Okay. So now if we think that DNS is a directory, for example, then do you think that one single server is capable of handling the records of billions of websites? Is it possible? And keep on updating it real time. Update it real time because the websites, addresses, domains keeps on changing, right? Is it possible for one server? Then the answer is no, it's not possible, right? So very first statement which I want you to tell you and I want you to understand is DNS is not a single server. Okay, it's not a single server. DNS is a hierarchical distributed global system. It is not a single server, it's a distributed. You can see multiple servers. Okay, so from where does it start? So it starts with a root DNS server. Root server DNS. It starts with this. So how many root servers do we have? So we have total 13 root servers present. So all this process has been standardized because this is a very important, right? If it has a potential to make internet useless, so it's very standardized. So there are 13 root servers. So these root servers knows the location of TLD servers. Okay, now shortly we will understand what is TLD servers. But now you might ask, right? What are these 13 root servers? Then you can simply get it if you search root servers. So you can get this site. So this is Internet Assigned Number Authority, right? So see the number of lists of root servers. So these are all the root servers. And these are their IP addresses, and these are the operators, these are the companies you can say or organizations you can say which maintain these servers, root servers. So what does this root server does? These root servers actually knows which server handles the domain. Okay, now let's understand this. Which server handles the domain? Now which domain? We have a domain, right? We have .com, .in, .org, .xyz, anything, right? Whatever comes in the website end, right? After dot, that is a domain name. So root server knows who manages the directory for this domain. Who manages the directory for .in domain? Who manages the directory for .org domain? Who manages the directory for .xyz domain? So root server knows this. Root server doesn't have the directory. Root server doesn't have the directory of all the website against his IP. Okay, root server only knows the server which actually maintains the directory of particular domain. So now we are talking about .com, .in, .org, .xyz, .net and whatnot. Okay, so what are these? These are the TLDs. So TLD stands for top level domain. Now TLD are the actual servers. These are the actual servers which maintains the directory of the .com domain or for that particular domain. So you can see number of TLD server based on the domains. Okay, so if there are google.com, netflix.com, amazon.com, all listing you will find in this .com TLD server. If there is a .in TLD server, then all the .in related domain list or domain website, you will find their IPs in that TLD server. So obvious question will come. So how many TLD servers are present? So the top TLD list you can find by searching list of internet top level domains. Okay, so this is a Wikipedia page. So here you can see how many are there. .com we have, .org, .net, .in, .edu, .gov, correct. So these are the top level domain. Now obviously again, if these are the domains and the server maintains it, all the listing about that domain, what are our website using those domains, then who somebody needs to update it and manage it, right? Somebody needs to operate it. So who does that? So there is a particular company or organization which actually responsible for maintaining it. Okay, so you can see here VeriSign is one of the organization or company which maintains the .com. So let's come back to our thing now. Now what is the next step is we are at TLD. TLD knows that where is the google.com exist. Correct. Now let's come at google.com scenario. It knows the network. It knows where is the google.com network present over the internet. That record it has. So it will route it to the Google authoritative server. There's another server which is present here, which is a authoritative server. So this is the server which actually maintain all the Google's company server list, you can say. Okay. Now if you are accessing google.com, there are multiple servers present which serves the google.com, because Google's is highly available website. If just assume that there is a single server which serve the google.com, if tomorrow that server got problem, entire Google will be down, right? Google.com will be down. So that never happens. So there are multiple server which serves the traffic which are coming for google.com. So who gives the particular server address then? This is the authoritative server. Authoritative server will also act as a load balancer. Okay. So it gives the particular IP for the request. Okay. Whatever is the available server IP at that point of time, it will return it. So this is the actual server which returns us the IP of google.com. For example, it has returned us 142.168.5.2. This is the exact IP given by this Google authoritative server, and this is the server which is going to serve us the web page google.com. Now let us try to understand from user point of view. Okay, and try to understand from very basic level. As soon as this user logins to his system, from where does he get the DNS server? So you can find your DNS server if you go to CMD and type ipconfig/all. Here in the result, you can see the DNS server which is assigned to my system. Correct. So who has given this DNS server to my system? That is the obvious question, right? So what happens is, as soon as you log into your system, we have told that before, we have understand before that our system send a request, DHCP discover request to the DHCP server. So DHCP server currently present in the router. Okay, so DHCP server gives us the IP address, subnet mask, default gateway. These are the three important things which our system gets as a part of DHCP request. But it also gets the DNS server. This is very important. Without asking, it will get it from the router. Now, who gives this to the router? It's a ISP of that router, right? So whatever ISP connection you have bought, they will give you the DNS server. So your router will give it to your system and your system will assign it as a DNS server. Okay. Now no confusion. You understand from where you got the DNS server. Now let us understand the flow of google.com. The user has typed google.com. Now, as soon as the user type google.com, your request will go to the OS, because that is where your request will go to the OS. Now, why it goes to the OS? Because DNS listing, we have understood that it's a kind of a directory, right? So it doesn't make sense every time to go to the directory, main directory, and figure it out the IP, right? So at every step, understand that at every step, the DNS caching will happen. Everybody try to remember the DNS listing. So it starts with OS. Even OS remember the important IPs. So as soon as you user hit google.com, the request will go to OS. It will ask OS, do you have the IP address of google.com? If OS gives the IP address, then well and good. If not, then your request will go to your router. Then it will ask your router, do you have the IP address of google.com? If router has cached it in the past, then router will return it from here. If not, then router will send it to the DNS of ISP, DNS server of ISP. Okay. So if it knows it, then it will return from here, else it will send it to DNS resolver. Now these DNS resolvers are very important concept. It's actually a recursive resolvers. Now recursive resolver can be your ISP DNS or Google DNS, okay, or Cloudflare DNS, okay. So these are the recursive resolver. You can consider them as a person who will going to actually work on your behalf and figure out the IP of google.com. Okay. So these are like a recursive. Recursive means they will keep on going to each door. Each person keep on asking, do you know the address of google.com? Do you know the address of google.com? And as soon as they got it, they will return it back. Okay, that's why they are recursive. Now what happens is the resolver knows the root server. Okay, they knows the root server and they will ask the root server, do you know the IP of google.com? Root server says that I doesn't know google.com, but I do know where all the .com servers IPs are kept. So this goes to root server. Root server tells them that I know where the .com server IPs are kept. So root server redirect them to TLD server. TLD server, right? So TLD server maintains all the listing of all the .com website against their IP. So google.com will also fall there, right? So TLD server, what TLD server will give is, TLD server will give the authoritative server. So it will tell that the DNS resolver, recursive DNS resolver, it will tell him that here also DNS resolver, okay? So doing it to understand that it's the same person who is going from here to here recursive, okay? So authoritative server tells that, okay, I know where the google.com lies, right? Where is the google.com network lies? Okay. So it's actually a Google server. This is a Google server, right? Authority means it's a Google server. So TLD server knows where the authoritative server for each domain lies. For example, Netflix. It knows where the Netflix server lies. All the cluster of Netflix server lies. So TLD server redirect to authoritative server, and authoritative server will give the IP. For example, it has given 142.x.x.x, for example. Now the recursive resolver got the IP. Now the way back will start. The flow back will start. Okay. So what happens is during this return flow, right? Everywhere the system try to cache the IP address so that next time if the request comes for the same IP, right, it doesn't need to go through all this flow. To avoid this, the caching will start. Even router cache it, even OS cache it, even the DNS server, ISP of DNS server cache it, DNS resolver tries to cache it. Everybody tries to cache it. And this is the way you will get the IP address of google.com. So now one more deep question will come. Okay, it is a getting DNS is a request. Then what protocol does it use? It uses the UDP protocol, because here the response time is important, right? We need a quick response. So it's a UDP request over a 53 port. Okay, so it is also standardized. It's a lightweight, fast, and it's a very small packet. Now next very big important question is, if DNS is so much important, right? Because it is very important, then hacker can directly hack it and bring all the internet down, right? Because there are evil people in the world. They always want to trouble other people, right? So attackers can hijack DNS, poison DNS, redirect somewhere else, perform phishing attacks. All these things hackers can do, right? So it was happening before, but now the DNS evolves, and now we have a DNSSEC, DNS secure. Okay. So DNS secure is an extra layer of security on the top of DNS request. So everything inside here and our request, everything is getting cryptographically encrypted. So nothing can be read by the external entity. Only the sender and receiver can able to read and understand it. So this way the DNS process, entire DNS process is made very secure. Now next obvious question will come is, can we directly change the DNS of our system? We have seen, right, in the IP config we have got the DNS server from ISP. Can I change it to directly the Google DNS? Then it is possible. You can manually change it. So some of the very famous DNS are Google DNS and Cloudflare. You have seen the outage which has happened at Cloudflare because of the DNS, right? Few websites were not accessible because few companies use this, and somehow there is a problem with the Cloudflare in routing, and those websites become unaccessible. So very famous are, for Google it's 8.8.8, 8.4.4. For Cloudflare it's 1.1.1, 1.0.0.1. If you configure them in your system, you can still access the internet and you might see some performance also, but it's a very negligible. So this is all about the DNS which I wanted to cover in this section. I hope you would have got a better understanding of how DNS actually work, what all are concepts, technologies it has used internally. If you want to summarize DNS server, then it's the biggest distributed database on earth, serving billions of queries per second. Invisible but very essential, and it's a backbone of websites, emails, app, cloud, banking, gaming, and whatnot. And if DNS breaks, the internet is blind. Internet became useless. Okay, that's how important the DNS is. So this is all about DNS server. If you like this video, do share, subscribe, and tell your friend about my channel. Thank you.